Legacy of Grandfather. It was a sunny day. John walked to the old house. This house was special. It was his grandfather's house. Now, the house was empty. Grandfather had passed away last year. Everyone was sad. John missed his grandfather a lot. Inside the house, everything was old. Old chairs, old tables, and old photos. John looked at the photos. He saw a young man with a big smile. It was his grandfather when he was young. On the table, there was a box. John opened the box. Inside, there were many things. There was a watch, some coins, and a letter. John took the letter and started to read. "Dear John," the letter said. "This is for you. I want you to have my watch and my coins. They are very old. I got them from my father. Now, they are yours." John looked at the watch. It was beautiful. The coins were shiny. He felt happy and sad at the same time. Then, John saw something else in the box. It was a small book. The book was old too. John opened the book. Inside, there were many stories. Stories about his family. Stories about his grandfather's life. John sat down and started to read. The stories were interesting. He read about his grandfather's adventures. He read about the places his grandfather visited. He read about the friends his grandfather made. The sun was setting. John was still reading. He felt close to his grandfather. He could see his grandfather's life in the stories. It was getting dark. John closed the book. He put everything back in the box. He knew that one day, he would share these stories with his children. He wanted them to know about their family. He wanted them to know about their grandfather's life. John left the house. He looked back one last time. He smiled. He knew that his grandfather's legacy would live on. Not in the things he left behind, but in the stories he shared. Near the subway. Jane loved to watch people. Every day after school, she would sit on a bench near the subway entrance. It was a busy place, and many people passed by. They all seemed to be in a hurry, rushing to get somewhere. There was the man with the red hat. He always carried a bag of bird seeds. Jane noticed that he would scatter the seeds for the pigeons every day. The birds seemed to know him, waiting eagerly for their treat. Then there was the lady with the big glasses. She often sat on the opposite bench, reading a book. Sometimes, she would look up and smile at Jane. Jane wondered about the stories hidden behind those glasses. One day, a boy about Jane's age came with a small guitar. He sat near the subway and began to play. The music was soft and sweet. People stopped to listen. Some even dropped coins into his guitar case. The boy's face lit up with every coin. Jane felt a connection with these people. She didn't know their names or their stories, but she felt like they were her friends. They were all a part of the same world, the world near the subway. One evening, as Jane was about to leave, the boy with the guitar approached her. "Hey," he said, "I've seen you here often. Would you like to learn to play the guitar?" Jane was surprised but happy. "Yes, I'd love to," she replied. From that day, the boy, whose name was Max, taught Jane to play the guitar. They became good friends. They would play music together, attracting more listeners every day. The subway entrance became a place of joy and friendship for Jane. It wasn't just a place to watch people anymore. It was a place where she felt connected to the world, where she found a friend, and where she discovered her love for music. My wrestler cousin. Tom was a normal boy with a very exciting family member, his cousin, Jake, who was a wrestler. Tom had always admired Jake because he was strong, tall, and looked like a superhero. When Jake visited Tom's family, he would tell exciting stories about his matches. One day, Jake invited Tom to watch his wrestling match. Tom was very excited. He had never been to a real wrestling match before. The day of the match, the arena was full of people. There was loud music and a big ring in the center. Tom's heart was beating fast. He sat in the front row, waiting for the match to start. Soon, Jake entered the arena. People cheered loudly. Tom felt proud that his cousin was so popular. Jake waved to Tom and gave him a thumbs up. The match began. Jake's opponent was very strong too. They both tried to push each other down. Tom shouted and cheered for Jake. It was so exciting. After some time, Jake used a special move. He jumped and turned in the air, then landed on his opponent. The referee counted, 1, 2, 3. And the match was over. Jake had won. Jake ran to Tom and lifted him high in the air. "This win is for you, buddy," Jake said. Tom laughed and hugged his wrestler cousin. It was the best day of Tom's life. From that day, Tom started to exercise and practice wrestling moves at home. He wanted to be strong like Jake. Every weekend, Jake would teach Tom some wrestling moves. Years passed, and Tom grew stronger. He decided to become a wrestler like Jake. And Jake was always there to support and guide him. They both trained together, traveled to different places, and won many matches. They were not just family, but also the best of friends. And together, they became champions in the wrestling world. Stronger than everyone. Sarah was a small girl, but she had a big heart. She loved playing sports, especially soccer. Even though she was smaller than most of her friends, she was very fast and smart. One day, a new boy named Max came to her school. Max was very tall and strong. He was good at every sport. Everyone wanted to be his friend because he was so talented. During recess, Sarah and her friends played soccer. Max joined them. He was amazing. He could kick the ball farther than anyone else. Everyone clapped and cheered for him. But Max was not kind. He laughed at Sarah because she was small. "You're too tiny to play," he said. Sarah felt sad. She wanted to prove him wrong. That evening, Sarah practiced kicking the ball in her backyard. She practiced for hours. She wanted to get better and show Max that she was not weak. The next day, Sarah challenged Max to a one-on-one soccer game. Max laughed. "Are you sure, little girl?" But Sarah was determined. She said, "Yes, I'm sure." The game began. Max was very confident. He thought he would win easily. But Sarah had a plan. She used her speed and intelligence to move around him. She kicked the ball with all her might and scored a goal. Max was surprised. He tried harder, but Sarah was too fast for him. She scored another goal. The final score was 2-0. Sarah had won. All the children clapped and cheered for Sarah. Max looked down, feeling embarrassed. He said, "I'm sorry for laughing at you. You're an amazing player." Sarah smiled. "It's okay. We all have strengths. We just need to believe in ourselves." From that day, Sarah and Max became good friends. They practiced soccer together every day. And Sarah showed everyone that size doesn't matter. What matters is the heart and determination to never give up. A new challenge. Julie loved reading books. Every day, after school, she would run to her small room, sit on her favorite blue chair, and open a new book. Her room was full of books, tall books, short books, thin books, and thick books. But she had read them all. One day, after finishing a very exciting story about a dragon and a knight, Julie felt bored. She wanted to find a new challenge, something different from reading. Julie thought about what she could do. She remembered her school had a gardening club. "Maybe I can try gardening," she thought. The next day, Julie went to the school's garden. It was a quiet place with colorful flowers and green plants. There was a smell of fresh earth in the air. Tom, the head of the gardening club, was there. "Hello. Can I join the gardening club?" Julie asked with excitement. Tom smiled. "Of course. We're planting new flowers today. Would you like to help?" Julie nodded. Tom gave her a small spade and showed her how to plant. Julie dug a small hole, put a flower in it, and covered it with soil. It felt good. The feeling of the soil on her hands, the smell of the plants, and the joy of seeing a new flower bloom made Julie happy. Days went by, and Julie became an expert at gardening. She planted roses, sunflowers, and daisies. She also learned about different types of soil and how to take care of plants. The garden became her new favorite place. Julie's friends noticed the change. "You spend a lot of time in the garden. Don't you miss reading?" they asked. Julie smiled. I still love reading. But now, I also love gardening. It's good to try new things. Her friends nodded. They understood that sometimes, it's essential to find new challenges and discover new passions. And for Julie, the garden was her new world of stories, where every plant had its tale to tell.